Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back for the team selection video for game week 8. So we're going to discuss how we're lining up towards game week 8. And as you can see from the title and from the previous videos, we are on a wild card. So we're going to show you both our wild card teams, and there has been a few changes to my wild card team, so that should be interesting. But yeah, how you doing, Jordan? How's your day been? Yeah, you doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thanks. I think this is a very interesting game week because both of us are wild carding, and this team selection is based literally on who we've picked for our wild card. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and obviously to recap what happened in the very unfortunate game week 7.
Yeah, but obviously before we move on to game week 8, let's quickly divulge into what happened in double game week 7, which was an unmitigated disaster, putting it kindly. So, in goal, I do have Pickford, who got the 1-pointer against Luton after their loss 2-1. Very, very frustrating. Moving along to the back three, again, absolute calamity at the back three. Not a great week there. Estepinian goes and scores an own goal in the 6-1 beating by Aston Villa. Then you've got Kabore, who does have a double game week. But however, he lost 2-1 and played only an hour, I believe, against Luton. And he played and got a yellow card against Everton in the first match for 3 points. Ruben Dias, unfortunately, put the ball into his own net. So he comes away with a minus 1 point, which again, unfortunate. With 2 of my defenders scoring own goals. Moving along into that midfield 5, not really much to shout about. Mbeumo blanks in that game against Forest, I believe, in the 1-1 draw. Rashford blanks yet again in the 1-0 loss to Palace. Son, however, did get a goal in that controversial win against Liverpool. Saka, 9-pointer, the highest scorer on my team this week. He does score and get the bonus point in that win against Bournemouth. So he comes away with 9 points. And very, very unfortunately, Sterling comes on off the bench. Obviously, Sterling was benched against Fulham, came on, played about 25 minutes and got a yellow card. He comes away with 0 points. Again, very frustrated with Sterling, and he will be definitely one of the reasons why I wildcarded. And up top to complete the team, I've got Alvarez and Haaland. Alvarez comes away with a goal and the 3 bonus points, which was nice. So 8 points from him. And then Haaland did blank in that 2-1 surprise loss to Wolves. And he only comes away with 2 points for being my captain. On the bench, Turner, 3 points. Gabriel did come away with a clean sheet, so should have played him for the 6-pointer. Archer, 2 points. And then Ben Chilwell, we know, is out for a while. So that is currently what my team looks like. It was a very, very low score of 33 points. And that is a red arrow down to 5 million rank. Yeah, you guys have read that correctly. It's a 5 million rank. But again, I'm still not in panic mode regards my rank because it is still early. But yeah, 33 points all out. Let's move on to your team then, Jordan. Talk us through how your game week 7 went, double game week 7. Is it any better, or how you feeling about it?
Well, not so much better, and I didn't feel right after that game week, obviously. But the start with Edison, obviously, no clean sheet for Man City. Edison concedes, he only gets 1 point. He got a point taken off of him because of the goals he conceded, where Man City lost 2-1. Moving on to defence, so we got Estepinian, who, we've been over this. He scored his own goal against Brighton, and Brighton lost 6-1 to Aston Villa, and that put Estepinian on -2, and he has negative points in defence. A bit more fortune with Saliba. He did get the clean sheet for Arsenal in that win over Bournemouth in that 4-0 win, so it's a nice return in the defence because Saliba is the only clean sheet I have. And that moves on to the final defender, Udogie, who gets 1 point as well in that very controversial 2-1 win at Spurs. Udogie did get a yellow card, so he got a point taken off. So that only leaves him with 1 point after that game. Moving on to the midfield, we've got Maddison on 2 points. He didn't get a return in that game and only got the 2 for the minutes he played. So yeah, no return for Maddison this game week 7. Hopefully next game week where he has Luton, he can get back on the return board. Next midfielder is Mbeumo. He gets 2 points as well. He could have had a penalty in that Nottingham Forest draw where Brentford drew 1-1. And so, yeah, a bit disappointment and annoyance for Mbeumo owners who missed out on, obviously, Mbeumo getting a penalty and potentially scoring that penalty kick. Next midfielder is the player I transferred in, that is Salah, and he ends up on 1 point. Controversially, he should have had an assist in that game from the misguided human error where obviously Liverpool scored by Luis Diaz, and obviously Salah assisted that, but it was ruled off, apparently offside, which wasn't the case. It was onside, but it was too late to change, obviously, that decision. So, yeah, Salah is left with 1 point. He did get a yellow card as well in that game. Moving on to a bit more fortune, this is the only fortune I had in my midfield, was Saka, who obviously scored the goal in that 4-0 win at Bournemouth. Got the bonus 1 and the clean sheet point on top of that, so that leaves him with 9 points. He could have potentially had a hat-trick, but he did give away 2 penalty kicks, which were rewarded to Arsenal, which was a very, I'll say, annoying, but I think a bit of luck for those who did transfer Saka out, that he didn't punish you that much. And finally, we got Foden in the midfield, who comes off with 2 points. So, yeah, another blank as well. He wasn't a part of that goal where Man City lost 2-1 to, obviously, Wolves. So, yeah, no return for Foden this week. But hopefully next week he does get back on return form. And up front, we got Haaland, who did blank as well. He only got the 4 points because I captured him. And, yeah, no goals for Haaland in game week 7. And finally, with a bit more fortune up front, and that was Carlton Morris, who did have double. He scored in the first fixture where Luton won 2-1 against Everton and got the bonus 2 points. But in the second one, where he played Burnley, Luton did lose 2-1 to Burnley, but Morris didn't get any returns from that game. But I'm still happy with the 10 points he did manage to get, obviously, from scoring that goal in the first fixture in that double game week that he had in game week 7. So overall, it wasn't a very high scoring week. Same for me. It was only literally 36 points for me game week 7 and a massive red arrow from 16k to 141. So yeah, I think it's a game week we both want to forget that happens.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It is a game week to forget. Game week 7, I'm glad it's gone. And we can look forward to game week 8, which is the big one where we're both on the wild card. And yeah, let's discuss what the teams are looking like. So first up, we've got my team. So I'm going to go through. There's been a few changes for those that saw our wildcard video on Monday. I made a couple little differences. So just to clarify, I've hit the button. I am on wildcard, and also my team value is 99.9 million. So it's just slightly under 100 million. So a lot of you will be able to afford this team due to my team value being so shoddy. So let's start off with the goalkeepers. So I've got in goal, I've gone Areola. Now, I did have Turner on the bench. However, I have actually taken Turner out and put in the Brentford backup, which is Strakoshka. I think I say his name. So he's a 3.9 million goalie that I've got. So non-playing on the bench. And then the goalie I've gone with is Areola, because I think Areola has actually impressed me a lot this season. The amount of save points he gets. And I know Newcastle in game week 8 isn't the greatest fixture. However, long term, I believe if you stick with Areola, he will end up getting you a double-digit haul. I'm actually convinced. So I actually don't want to have 2 good goalkeepers where I'll rotate. I just want to play one, set and forget, and I think you will benefit from that. So just if you get Areola, guys, just play him for 10 games in a row, and then you'll get an odd 10-digit haul, or I say 10-digit haul, a double-digit haul, and that's what I believe with Areola. So I'm glad he's my goalkeeper at 4.2 million. Very good value for money.
Well, he did get that double haul against Chelsea in that 3-1 win in game week 2. So yeah, that's a good pick. Cheap price.
Yeah, the other thing is I don't like you can't predict when he's going to score points on goalkeepers as well, because against Sheffield last week he got 6 points, against Brighton he got 5 points, against Chelsea, as you said, 10 points. So I think it's just set and forget for me, and I'm happy to go with that, to be honest. Back 3 then. Let's talk about the defense. Now, there's been a change here for those with a keen eye. So first up, I've got Dan Burn. Now, the reason Dan Burn's on this is, again, to cover Trippier's clean sheets. Now, Yes, I know he's not as good as Trippier, and if money was no object, I would have Trippier in the team no matter what. But because I can't afford Trippier, and he's the kind of sacrifice I've decided to make with the rest of my team, I've gone Dan Burn to get the clean sheets, hopefully. And yeah, West Ham isn't the greatest fixture coming up. But after that, Palace, Wolves, it's a bit up and down, but yeah, he's literally in there because I can't afford Trippier. So let's see Dan Burn if he can try to keep up with Trippier. I've got Matty Cash in there next up in the defense. Again, Matty Cash has not much to say about him. I think he's going to be a popular along with Luca Dean. Maybe if you want to be a bit different. Matty Cash coming off some really good performance against Brighton with the 6-pointer he got in Game Week 7. He's got great fixtures coming up with Wolves, West Ham, Luton, Forest. I think, again, he's going to be a very popular pick on the wild card. So, yeah, I could see him being in a lot of drafts. And to complete the defense, this is where I've gone a bit different. So, as you guys know, Udogie was in my team. And I've actually changed my mind because of the current situation I find myself in with my rank. And because I want to be different, I've actually taken Udogie out and I bought in Porro, who is 0.2 million more expensive. So Porro is 5 million and Udogie is 4.8. And I believe Porro is just as good as, if not better, an option. So for me, I am going Porro with 7.5% ownership. And I want to go a bit different in that sense. So 2 assists for Porro already so far this season. Good fixtures coming up. Luton, Fulham, Palace, and Chelsea next. And I'm hoping variance, sides with me for once. I've not had much luck this season, but I'm hoping I can get a double-digit return from Porro. Maybe he gets a goal. I think his shooting is better than Udogie's. I know one thing I like about Udogie is playing further forward, but speaking to Spurs fans, they are pretty confident on Porro as he's just a better player. So again, I'm hoping Porro can be a bit of a nice differential for me.
Yeah, he does get involved in some of Spurs matches and potentially has some chances to score in those matches. So he does create chances as well as take opportunities when he does have the ball. And he does push forward a lot. And I think that's a one good key factor to obviously look at when picking Pedro Porro, especially a differential pick with Luton away as a fixture. Yeah. That seems to be really nice for him.
Knowing my luck, as I said, Udogie probably goes scores and then Porro gets like a red card or something. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Luton away looks like a good fixture and I'm happy to own Porro. Midfield 5, again, a couple of changes, or one change, I should say. So first up, it is Mo Salah. Now, Mo Salah is one of the main reasons why I decided to press the wild card, because I really wanted Mo Salah in my team. As you guys know, I've been talking about Salah for a few weeks now. Salah, again, the reason why I want to bring him in my team, I think the fixtures, mid-term, long-term even, look pretty nice. He's got Brighton away this week. I believe Brighton are actually playing right now, and last time I checked, Brighton were losing 2-0 against Marseille. So Salah against Brighton could be a nice little fixture this week. Salah is surprisingly starting tonight. Liverpool play in 45 minutes, and Salah has been lined up to start tonight. So not sure what that means, but he will play in the Premier League. It's just how many minutes does he get tonight? It's going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, Salah against Brighton, I'm happy to own him. Again, after that, Everton, Forest, Luton in Game Week 11 as well. So yeah, Salah for sure for me is a lock on my wild card. And then because Salah's so expensive at 12.5 million he is, or 12.6 now.
Yeah, I think he had a price rise.
Yeah, 12.6. I've had to make a bit of a sacrifice, and the player I've bought in, which is kind of an enabler for me, to enable me to have Salah, the likes of Son, etc., and that is Neto. Now Neto is very cheap. Again, I think he's 5.6 million. Just checking. Sorry, 5.7. He had that a price rise, and I've been impressed with Neto very much. If I'm being honest, when I watched him against Liverpool, I thought he was impressive as well. Again, Wolves haven't had the greatest starts to the season. They have played some tough teams with Man City, Liverpool, even Man United, first game of the season, which they should have really won. But, Pedro Neto, I should say, has 5 assists and 1 goal already. So that's 6 attacking returns in 7 games. And for someone his price at 5.7 million now, I think it's very good value for money. And every time I've watched him, he's been the most impressive player for Wolves. He is Wolves' talisman, I should say. And whenever Wolves score, it seems like he's involved, whether that's an assist or a goal. And he is the key man for that Wolves team. And yeah, I'm happy to own him at that price. And I know with the rest of the players having the squad, I need to make some sort of, and I need to have an enabler basically. And Neto, I believe, at that price is the perfect one for me. So yeah, he's in the team. And again, Wolves have some of the nicest fixtures coming up. You take a look, Villa next, Dennis Bournemouth, Newcastle, Sheffield as well after that. So fixtures are decent and I'm happy to own him. Next up, we've got Diaby of Aston Villa next in my team. And Diaby is currently flagged with a 75% chance of playing. So he's one to watch. If I hear that he's not going to start, then he will be taken out of my team. But if I hear he's fine, which I think Emery did say he should be fine for the league game, then I am definitely going to have Diaby in my team. No debate. I think I've been impressed with Diaby this season with 4 assists and 2 goals. Again, he's one player that's a new signing to the Premier League that's kind of hit the ground running. And again, it's the fixtures that do it for me. Wolves next, West Ham after that, Luton in Gameweek 10, Forest in 11, Fulham in 12. The fixtures look nice, as we've mentioned, about Aston Villa assets. And as you guys can see, I'm triple up on the Villa guys. And yeah, I do believe Villa are one of the main reasons why I decided to wildcard as well. I wanted more Villa coverage, and I think Diaby at his price, I think 6.7 million now after his price rise, offers some decent value for money. And yeah, again, I need to go a bit cheaper to accommodate the rest of my team. So I'm happy to go with Diaby at that price. And later down the line, I could even sell him to someone like a Mitoma when Brighton's fixtures turn again. That's another consideration I do have.
That was a question I was about to ask. Let's say Diaby doesn't, we find out he doesn't start in that fixture. Have you thought of other alternatives to replace him with? Because I see you have 0 in the bank, and Diaby 6.7 million. You will have like that amount of money to literally spend on a player to replace him. Have you got any thoughts on who else you have in mind that could replace Diaby?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, to be fair. I've looked at Mitoma. Now, Mitoma, I probably will want in my team. Mitoma 6.6 million. But the problem is, Mitoma has Liverpool and Man City back-to-back in Game Week 8 and 9. So tough fixtures. I probably want Mitoma after Game Week 10. So that's the reason why I've gone without Mitoma. Just the next 2, I'm not keen on. And to come on to Animation's question, actually, would Gordon not be better than Neto? Could bench Gordon and play Archer? See, I'm not sure about playing Archer, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't like to rely on Archer. I know he's going to play and whatnot against Fulham, but Gordon is suspended, actually, for that Game Week 8 fixture as well. But Gordon is one I've considered as well. But we'll come on to it closer to the deadline stream. But I think Diaby is actually fine. And I'm hoping he is anyway. And yeah, let's see what Emery's got to say. And then finally, to complete the midfield, I have got double Spurs. Let's start off with Maddison against Luton away. I think Maddison's, I don't know if he's a must-have, but it's hard to ignore. It is hard to ignore Maddison against Luton away. Fixtures look great for Spurs, as we've mentioned. Spurs are one of the, in terms of the fixture ticker, Spurs have some of the nicest fixtures out of any team in the Premier League right now. Luton next, Fulham, Palace, Chelsea, Wolves, Villa. And we've seen Spurs are unbeaten so far in the league. And Maddison's been very impressive. I think he's got 4 assists as well, 2 goals. And he's definitely one I want in my team because I have not owned Maddison, I believe, so far this season. And I've been Son owner. But Maddison, again, I'm excited to own that double Spurs attack, especially, when they're playing Luton next. So that's the thinking behind going double Spurs. To complete it off, I've got Son in there as well, who's got Luton away. Similar to Maddison, fixtures are great. He's playing in our number 9 role. And we've seen Son, he's clinical. Even in that Liverpool game, when he gets a chance, he's more likely to score. Both feet is great. Fixtures are nice. And yeah, I wouldn't want to go without Son on a wild card, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, both Spurs assets, I think, are very popular picks because of the fixture they have as well set up for Game Week 8. But it's the involvement, I think, for Maddison's part. He seems to be always involved, whether it's goals or assists, and he's literally Son's right-hand man when it comes to that because he does pass through most of the balls towards
Mhm.
Son. I know Richarlison did last game to Son, but the main man I think is Maddison for Spurs, because
Yeah.
it is the missing puzzle that Spurs have been missing in that key position, and Maddison has perfectly fit into that spot nicely for Spurs, and it seems to be working out really well for them. And yeah, I think there's a lot of points still to come from Maddison, and with the combination of Son as well.
Yeah, I think double up on Spurs definitely going to be popular. Even a triple up with you doggy or Porro, whichever way you want to go. That completes the midfield though, and moving up top. First up is Ollie Watkins. Now again, Ollie Watkins may be another reason why I wanted to wildcard. I know again people might say that's knee jerky and whatnot after his 23 pointer against Brighton with the hat trick he got. However, if you go back a couple of weeks ago and you look at my Game Week 5 wildcard video we did one. Game Week 5 wildcard. I actually had Watkins in my draft because I was actually looking at Watkins a few weeks back, longer term, because we've mentioned with Aston Villa, they have a great run of fixtures, as I said earlier. Wolves, West Ham, Luton, Forest, Fulham, Spurs, and Bournemouth in the next 7 or 8 games. Watkins, he has got 4 goals and 6 assists, believe it or not, so far this season. So he's got 10 attacking returns in 7 games, which is very respectable. People were getting frustrated with him at the start of the season because he wasn't scoring. He was mainly getting the assists. But again, at 8 million, I think he is a striker that I'm happy to own. And even if he doesn't do well for me, he's at that price where I can just drop him down to a Darwin, to an Alvarez or whoever. So again, I think Watkins' fixtures are nice. He's going to be very popular on the wild card. I am sure of it. I think his ownership's now above 25% as well. But happy to finally own him, and I'm hoping that he can start off getting me some goals against Wolves away.
Yeah, he's literally only had 1 blank, I think, this season so far. Apart from that, he's had either an assist or a goal from a game. So it's pretty crazy. I know he didn't score off early on and still got assists, but a lot of people are still frustrated with Watkins, which I know he's a forward and you expect him to score goals, but I still would be happy from the assists, especially if you own Nicholas Jackson throughout that whole period of time where me and Huss did. And we'll see Watkins getting points after points and other forwards, then yeah, I think Watkins it's very hard to get rid of him if you've had him since game week 1.
Oh yeah, if you had him since game week 1, then you're laughing because a lot of us did go Jackson, and obviously the Jackson move did not pay off. I wish I went Watkins. Maybe that's with hindsight, but it is what it is. I'm just glad to own him now. And then finally, to complete the attack, I have gone Haaland. I know there's been people in the chat and whatnot said to me, should we go without Haaland? I have not considered going without Haaland at all, if I'm being honest. I'm not willing to take that sort of risk. I've seen some teams without Haaland. They do look quite nice. Watkins, I've seen the front three of Watkins, Darwin, and Alvarez, and it does look tasty, and it lets you do a lot with your team. But now I can't go without Haaland for me, so Haaland's in the team for me for sure. And then on the bench, I do have Strakoschka, who I mentioned, the Brentford number 2, and I'm hoping Flecken gets dropped soon, so maybe Strakoschka could get some games. Archer's in there as a playing 4.5 million forward. Gabriel is an interesting one because I could go for a cheap defender and have a bit of money in the bank. But the reason I've got Gabriel in the draft is because I actually think Arsenal's fixtures coming up, like midterm, is actually decent. So take a look at Gabriel. The fixtures coming up against City and Chelsea could be a bit tough. But in game week 10, Sheffield. Game week 12, they've got Burnley. Game week 13, it's Brentford. Game week 14, it's Wolves. Game week 15, it's Luton. So when the likes of Dan Burn or Cash have a tougher fixture, I could easily play Gabriel, who plays for Arsenal. He is a bit of a attacking threat as well on set pieces. So I can also play Gabriel in certain games when I want to switch it up, and also just to give me a bit of insurance when there's a flag or there's a suspension, rather than having a non-playing bench, which can cause issues at times, as we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, definitely my team. I was flag central going forward into game week 7. I had 5 flags, and by the time I had, obviously the game week was over, I had no bench because Botman was my last bench option for me. So yeah, I think having a reliance on that bench in those particular times of seasons where there's a lot of obviously competitions, there's a lot of
Injuries
players
as well, yeah.
And injuries, yeah, we're seeing more injuries than we have done previous seasons, and I think a decent bench now is good insurance cover for your team, especially when we're seeing these injuries pop up left, right, and centre.
And then finally, to complete the bench, I've got Taylor, who's a 3.9 million defender. It's as cheap as you can go. He's starting at left back for Burnley, so again, playing player, and that completes the wild card. That leaves me with 0.0 million in the bank, which is a very, is a very like a budgeted team. Like, there's nothing I can upgrade. So if I do want to upgrade anyone, I can't really go there. I'll have to downgrade elsewhere and then move the money up. But I'm happy with that. Spending all the money. It is a 3-5-2 formation as well, as you guys can see. And just to very quickly, captaincy. I've currently got the captain's armband on Son, who has Luton away. That could easily change. I'm going to see how Liverpool play tonight, and especially how Salah plays tonight, and how long he gets on the field. I could switch that captaincy to Mo Salah against Brighton, depending on how I feel towards the end of the deadline. But one thing's for sure, I will not be captaining Haaland. I believe it will either be Son or Salah captain. But as of now, it's Son against Luton as my captain for game week 8. But yeah, that's the team. Let me know what you guys think of the wild card. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is there something that you think I should add? Or let me know your variations, guys. What you think of this team? Drop it in the comments. We'll read them out in a bit. I think I'll read some out now, actually. But then after that, we're going to move on to your team, Jordan, for game week 8. We've got Colm, who says, hit the like button, people. Yeah, guys, there is a few of you watching in here. If you are enjoying the content, if you are providing some value, please hit that like button. It really helps support the channel, and all your likes and everything are appreciated from us. Animations, I've read this one out. Nintendo with a comment, Lamptey, White, or Shah in for Estupinian. I think it depends. If you're going to play, if you're going to need a playing player, then I would personally, I'd go Dan Burn, the 4.5 million, because I think Share is 5.1 million. So he's slightly more expensive. So I would go Dan Burn and save the 0.6 personally.
Yeah. Unless you have like Trippier or Newcastle defender already, you could go Ben White and obviously play him when his fixtures are easier than another defenders maybe. Like for Huss, he's got Gabriel in his team bench, and he'll swap another defender on who has a difficult fixture over him. So that's another thing you could do in Nintendo.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for Ben White as well personally. I would actually prefer to go Gabriel, because Ben White is 5.5 million, so he's quite expensive. And I'd rather get Gabriel for 4.7, a lot more cheaper and just as good in my opinion. Oscar says hello. Hello, Oscar. Animation says fair enough, Huss. Looks solid this draft. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Animations also says jealous of the Watkins pick. Yeah, I mean Watkins definitely he's going to be popular on the wildcards, and I mean he might be. Let's see Jordan's wildcard anyway. So yeah, Jordan, let's see what you're doing in terms of wildcard 8, and if there's any changes, let us know.
Well, yeah. Without further ado, here is the team selection / wildcard for game week 8. So in goal, I did actually swap my goalkeeper. If you guys saw in the last video, and we obviously done the video before that, I did have Edison originally in my team. Now I've changed and gone with a cheaper goalkeeper, which is the Crystal Palace one, John Stone. And this is for one reason being... Oh, sorry, Johnston. I forget his...
John Stone.
I forget his name is together. Yeah, I've gone with a cheaper, obviously, goalkeeper for Crystal Palace at 4.5 million. I think one reason being is to save up money as well, because Edison is really expensive, and despite him getting clean sheets every now and then, it still doesn't feel like Man City are quite there in there. Obviously, in defence, they seem to be conceding very silly mistakes in particular as well. We've got one from Kyle Walker, which is a mistake at the back. Obviously, Ruben Diaz scoring an own goal, and then there's the major problem of Edison, can't really save. And we're seeing goalkeepers like Areola getting save points at 4.1 million. So is it really worth it now thinking about it, Ederson at 5.5, if he's not making any saves and making just one here and there and conceding, then I think it's not really worth having Ederson and not getting really cover for Man City in that respect. So I have gone with Johnston at 4.5 million just to save up money. And the fixtures for Crystal Palace are up and down, but I have got Areola to swap when the difficult fixture does arise. He does have Nottingham Forest at home in Game Week 8. Then after that, he has Newcastle away. So that could be a fixture where I swap Areola over in Game Week 9, for example. But yeah, I have gone with Johnston as my first goalkeeper. Obviously, Areola is my cheaper goalkeeper version that I can swap with him if need be. And he stayed in my team at 4.1 million. Now we move on to the defence, where it has changed quite a bit. So there's two changes in my defence. I'll start off with these two first. The first one is obviously Trippier, who has West Ham away. Now, the reason being Trippier is into my team now is because of what happened in Game Week 7, where obviously he's had back-to-back calls in Game Week 7 and 6, where I didn't own Trippier. And it didn't really affect my ranking in Game Week 6. It was the one in Game Week 7, where he obviously got an assist and a clean sheet, and obviously the bonus points on top of that. And that literally killed my rank. I was 16k overall, just under 10k rank. And I dropped down, as you can see on the overlay underneath myself. I'm at 141k with a massive red arrow. So it has got to the point now where Trippier, I think, is necessary or almost as necessary to be in your team, just because of the rank killer he causes when he does get a clean sheet. Well, not just only a clean sheet, you could just get a simple attack and return and still punish your rank if you don't own him. And his ownership has gone literally through the roof. He's now at 43.7%. So almost half of FPL owners almost own Trippier in their teams now. And I imagine that's set to rise closer to the time of obviously Game Week 8 when it eventually comes. So he's definitely brought into my team in defence. And he has got West Ham away. It is a difficult fixture, I think, for Newcastle to keep a clean sheet in. So I don't highly expect a clean sheet for Newcastle, especially in a away fixture for them. But I'm definitely not waiting to take a chance on not having Trippier for another game week, because I do think he will obviously give me another red arrow in Game Week 8. Now, the second defender pick that I've changed in my team is going with Luca Dean. I know I could have gone for Matty Cash, but I do want to go different, obviously, this season. And I have opted to go for Luca Dean over Matty Cash. Now, the reason being is there's two reasons. Luca Dean is a bit more cheaper than obviously Matty Cash, because Luca Dean is 4.6 million and I believe Cash is 4.9. So I am saving 0.3 million obviously on Luca Dean, which I think you can't really go wrong obviously with either Luca Dean or Cash, judging from the stats that they both show, because you've got Luca Dean, who has 3 assists. So he's had 3 attack and returns so far this season. He got 1 against Everton in Game Week 2, got 1 against Burnley in Game Week 3, and 1 against Crystal Palace in Game Week 5. And then on the other hand, for Matty Cash owners, he's obviously had a few attack and returns where he scored 2 against Burnley. He got an assist in the Brighton game. So he's had a few returns as well. But with Luca Dean as well, his ownership is only 5.5%. And this is where my logic comes into play. So if Luca Dean gets any attack and return on top of a clean sheet, that's a nice rank gainer, obviously, over Matty Cash if he just gets a simple clean sheet with no attack and return. And that's where my thinking has gone towards Luca Dean on that behalf, just because he's a differential, which no one's really looked at, and I've gone for the obvious pick, who is Matty Cash. And yeah, that is my reasoning, obviously, to bring obviously Luca Dean into my team. He also has, as we've seen, Aston Villa have really nice fixtures all the way up until literally Game Week 15, obviously when they play Man City at home. So before that, they have nice fixtures all the way through to obviously before they play Man City at home in Game Week 15. So yeah, that is why I brought Luca Dean into my team, and he is the second defensive addition that I've gone for. Now, the last one, obviously, Uzi Doggy. He hasn't changed. He's obviously kept into my team. I've had him literally from, I think I bought him in I think it was in Game Week.
Maybe like Game Week 2 or Game Week 3. So
I think it was Game Week. Yeah, I think it was Game Week 3 where he got the double haul of 12 points because I didn't own him from the very beginning because he had Brentford and Man United in Game Week 1 and 2. But yeah, I'm keeping Uzi Doggy. There is a slight, obviously, worry because I think he's 2 yellow cards away from a suspension. So I do have to watch out for that as well. They don't pick up, obviously, 2 more yellow cards because otherwise that will change my plans on, obviously, Udogie. But I am keeping him. He is 4.8 million, so he's another cheap goalkeeper with nice fixtures. And with Luton away in Game Week 8, he's really set, I think, for a clean sheet in that game, hopefully. Fingers crossed. And his ownership's not too bad. I think it's actually dropped. It's now below 20%. So there is a slight dip in Udogie's ownership, which looks pretty nice. I mean, that's more of a rank gainer now that a few people have got rid of him, surprisingly, in the defense. But yeah, that pretty much completes my back three in my team selection wildcard. Okay, now we move on to the midfield 5. So we'll start off with Maddison, who is the second addition to my Spurs. So we've spoken about Maddison. He's pretty much heavily involved in every game for Spurs, and he is that key talisman, I think, to obviously goal scorers like Son and Richarlison up front. And yeah, I think without Maddison, I don't think Spurs would have the greatest of seasons so far, unbeaten currently without a loss. And I think Maddison's a huge part in that, obviously, that unbeatable record so far for Spurs. And I think he's hard to obviously go without just because of his stats. Because he's scored 2 goals already and he's had 4 assists. So he's had a nice return from Game Week 1 to now. And yeah, I think he's definitely a midfielder pick I'll go for in terms of Spurs and the fixtures that they have. And that pretty much explains why I brought in Son as well. Because he's the Harry Kane of Spurs now, out front and the main.
Who do you think is a better pick out of Maddison and Son? If you could only have one, who do you think you'd go for over Maddison and Son?
I think I'd go for Son just because I see more of the goals coming from him. For Maddison, even though he scored twice, I do see more assists. Obviously, he's more of the
creator.
Yeah, he's the creator in terms of the Spurs, obviously, team. So I expect more assists from Maddison, but I see Son scoring majority of the goals for Spurs in that, obviously, that forward position.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'm jealous of the Bowen pick though that you've got. Obviously, you're going to come on to that, but yeah, the Bowen pick. I want to actually touch on Bowen because I don't have him, but he's What do you think of that pick, and why have you gone with him?
Yeah, the Bowen pick is interesting because, well, from watching West Ham, they've had a massive improvement from last season, and I think that's also due to the transfer for James Ward-Prowse coming to West Ham as well. That's looked pretty good in terms of.
I've actually heard Ward-Prowse might be injured. Is that true, guys?
Ooh. If he is, he's a massive miss to West Ham midfield. But
I mean, I saw it somewhere. I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe it's. I don't know. I know he was left out of the England squad, but I don't know if that's due to injury. But
let's hope it's not serious in that case.
I think he's fine because aren't they playing tonight anyway?
Yeah, they are playing tonight.
Let me check. I mean, I think he scored tonight. No, he didn't. He played tonight though. So yeah, I think you're fine.
Oh, that's a good sign then. But yeah, Bowen, he's the other addition that I've brought into my wildcard team. 7.3 million now. He did have a price rise at 16.3% ownership. The reason being I brought Bowen in is I've liked, obviously, the form of West Ham is vastly improved since last season, where we didn't really see Bowen get any returns whatsoever. But this season, he's had 7 returns, obviously, in 7 of the game weeks. So he's only blanked twice, and that was against Man City and Chelsea. So it was against 2 big, obviously, teams. But he did manage to get obviously a goal against Liverpool in that 3-1 loss. But I've liked the look at Madison. Sorry, not Madison. I've liked the look at Bowen. He does come off with a 9-pointer against Sheffield United in that 2-0 win, where he did score one of the goals in that game. So we're seeing more goals, I think, from Bowen. Obviously, that makes it more attractive to bring Bowen in. I know the fixture's difficult for Game Week 8 against Newcastle at home, but after that, the fixtures do get more easy and more comfortable for obviously Bowen.
That's what I was just going to say. I think Bowen is actually a very good pick long term as well, because he's actually one player in my team that I really want. Like, I've looked at Bowen. It's just hard for me to fit him in, especially when I've got Salah as well. And see, Newcastle's tough, but then fixtures after that look very, very nice, up until even like game week 17, 18.
Yeah, especially for the Everton home fixture in game week 10, because Everton haven't kept a clean sheet yet this season, have conceded in all their matches. So that looks like a very nice fixture for Bowen. And then obviously his fixtures are nice until game week 19 when they play Arsenal. So you could potentially hold Bowen really long in terms of game weeks, as long as he's doing well still up until obviously game week 19. But yeah, that's my other pick, obviously, for the midfield 5. Move on to the next player, and that is Foden. Now, he stayed into my team. I'm still keeping the faith in Foden because he hasn't had such a bad, obviously, season so far. He's scored 1, but he has assisted 3 of the goals for Man City. He does come off with a blank against Wolves in that surprising 2-1 loss to Wolves. But he's had quite a bit of fortune. Obviously, in game week 6, he got a double haul where he scored the goal. And he had a nice 9-pointer against Newcastle in that 1-0 win. Now, the reason being why I've kept a hold of Foden is I feel like he turns up in bigger games than he does in obviously less difficult ones. And with Arsenal away in game week 8 coming up, I don't think that's a bad fixture for Foden. I know it's a difficult one, but I think it's one where Foden will play a massive part in that game, whether obviously Man City score. And I do think there is goals for Man City in this game, even though it's an away fixture for Man City. I still expect to win for them because they want to keep in that title race, and especially they want to bounce back after losing to Wolves. So I think this is a nice fixture for Foden to obviously regain a bit of form from the last games. But after that game, there is a bit more hard fixtures. He's got Brighton in 9, Man United in 10. I know he classes that's a difficult one. And then Bournemouth at home in game week 11, and Chelsea and Liverpool in 12 and 13. But after that, the fixtures do turn around come game week 15 and become more easier. I don't know if I'll hold Foden up until that time. It does depend on how his form plays in these tougher fixtures coming up for obviously Man City. But I still see Foden as a nice differential almost to go for, because he's only 13.2%. And that's 7.6 million. There is other options I could potentially go for, but I do like having a Man City midfielder still in my team. And I know Foden will play. Obviously, he's played a lot of minutes so far this season. The only time he didn't play many minutes in the game was that Sheffield United fixture in game week 3, where he only played 4 minutes. But besides that, he has had really good match times in his game weeks. Now, the last midfielder pick, this might seem a bit controversial because a lot of people have got rid of this player. And that is Mbeumo, and he's another player that I've stuck to my guns with him, even though he's played a different position. As we've seen in the last 3 games, he's played as like a wing back instead of like playing more centrally like we'd always see him do. But I still like Mbeumo as a pick at 6.6 million. He's had a really good run. Obviously, up until game week 4 was his last return. Besides that, he's had 3 blanks against Newcastle, Everton, and Nottingham Forest. But I still, with Mbeumo, he's a penalty taker as well, and I think he was a bit unfortunate in that Nottingham Forest game where he could have potentially had a penalty kick as well. So I think that's another reason why I've kept a hold of Mbeumo, because he is a penalty taker, and I think that's a very important thing to think about obviously we want penalty takers because Brentford do get quite a few penalties, and they have done so far this season. That's where some of the goals have come from, in Bremo taking a penalty kick. So I am going to keep the faith in him. He has Man United away. I don't really consider that a hard fixture for Brentford. They actually did beat Man United in that very shocking loss, obviously. Yeah. So I do have a bit of a hopes for Mbeumo doing really well in that fixture, despite him being a Man United fan. But he does have Burnley at home after that in game week 9, and then Chelsea away in 10. So I think the next 3 for Mbeumo are quite decent for him. And then maybe a bit of redemption from the last 3, where he did blank, obviously, and his ownership has dropped a bit down to 24.8%. So that's really nice to see. And yeah, I think for a cheap price of 6.8 million, I'm going to keep the faith in Mbeumo, and hopefully he doesn't punish me for keeping a hold of him. But that completes the midfield 5. We move on to the front 2, and it's the same front 2 as Huss's team. So we've got Watkins, who has Wolves away, and we've spoken about obviously Watkins having nice long-term fixtures. He's only blanked once this season, and he would have been a nice addition to the team if we had him from game week 1.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to ask you: is Watkins a non-negotiable for you? Is he like a lock, 100%, like must-have on the wild card or whatever? Is he that level sort of importance for you?
Yeah, I think so. Because there is the alternative Alvarez, but with the fixtures that Alvarez has, I haven't really going with that. I just like the fixtures that Watkins does have, and obviously the form Watkins will bring in the long-term fixtures that obviously Aston Villa do have.
I was just going to say, I'm actually a massive fan of Alvarez, and the way he's playing, I think he's looking very, very sharp. And I'm actually scared to get rid of. I've got rid of Alvarez on my wild card, which I don't like doing, but it's tough to fit him in. But yeah, it's interesting that you think Watkins is so important for you. Like he's definitely one that you won't go without. I don't think Alvarez is as bad as an option, but I've gone Watkins as well.
It could be a swap I could potentially do for Watkins if I don't see him obviously doing well, and I see Alvarez outperforming Watkins. But yeah, I mean, Alvarez is cheaper. I think that's a benefit, because when you own Watkins, he's 8 million, and Alvarez, he's much cheaper. I think that's 7.
I think it's 7 million.
Yeah, 7 million. You can easily transfer, obviously, and save that extra 1 million as well if I consider bringing Alvarez, if I don't find Watkins a good pick to go forward with. But yeah, finally, the last player is obviously Haaland, and yeah, he's staying in my team. I ain't taking Haaland out. With the ownership still at 90%, so it's only dropped really by 2%. I think it's crazy not owning Haaland. I think it's even more crazy if obviously not captaining Haaland. I think you can get away with that sort of, unless he scores a massive hat trick or haul like he did against obviously Fulham, like 5-1 win for Man City. But yeah, I'm not getting rid of Haaland. I think he's still a must-have in your team at 90% ownership. I mean, that alone is scary enough. If he gets a goal, you need to have a really decent game week every week, as long as Haaland scores, to benefit obviously from not having him. So he's definitely keeping my team, and that moves on to obviously the question of your captaining. Yeah, I am captain Haaland still, even though he has Arsenal away. It might be crazy when Son obviously has Luton away, which is a much better fixture, but you never know with Haaland. He goes in blanks 1 week and then scores a hat trick in the next one. So yeah, I'm fairly nailed on having Haaland as my captain pick. But yeah, on the team bench, we spoke about Areola being my cheaper goalkeeper forward. He has Newcastle at home, but I think I'll play Johnston, who has Nottingham Forest at home, who has a better fixture. Archer, he's my cheap 4.5 million forward, again, who has Fulham away, so he's obviously a backup for any case of the starting 11 where a player is out for the game week. Now, Estepinian's an interesting one, because this is a very quick update on him, because I didn't realize he has a muscle injury, and he's not expected back. Yeah, he's not expected back until obviously the 4th of November. where it says on obviously the fantasy website. So he is a player I will be taking out of my team and potentially bringing in a cheaper player in to replace him with. So yeah, that will slightly change obviously on the deadline stream. SGPN won't be in my team anymore due to him being out injured. So yeah, he's one I need to consider. And also Bell is a uncertainty one. He's only got a knock though, so I don't think that's just as bad as obviously SGPN and having them red and being out for longer term. So I think Bell should be fine, but he's only 4 million. He's just another bench player cover for a defender in case worst case scenario I have 2 players out of my team and 2 have to come on obviously from the bench. So yeah, that pretty much completes my cheap bench playing options to go for. And yeah, that is pretty much my team going forward in game week 8 for my wildcard. I have 1.9 million spare, so it's quite a lot of money left in this team, so I can afford to upgrade a certain few players.
Okay, nice one. So that's both our wildcard teams out of the way for game week 8. Let us know what you think of both our wildcards in the comments. We are going to read some comments out now that we've missed. First up, which one? I've missed a few actually. FPL Manager's Desk, interesting name. Greeting, gents. I went Haalandless. Nice. I mean, we were talking about Haaland and going without him. I mean, I think it's nuts. I'm not willing to do it, but I do like an Alvarez, Darwin, and Watkins front three, if I'm being honest, but I'm too scared to do it. Hi lads, not sure if you remember, I had Bruno on my wild card, not anymore, going for Luis Diaz instead. What do you make of this one, Jordan?
Yes, I do remember this, Roman, because I think you said it was blind loyalty that you went for Bruno, obviously into your team. It's nice to see you changed it and going for Luis Diaz instead, because that is a massive differential pick to go for, considering you could have had a goal against Spurs, which was unfortunately ruled out. So I do like the pick of Luis Diaz. It's very different, and with Brighton next.
Only 9.5% ownership as well for Luis Diaz, so under 10%. Alex, my wildcard team, Areola, 3.9 goalie, Burn, Pau Torres, I believe that is, Porro, Gabriel, Taylor, Salah, Son, Madison, Fernandez, Neto, Solanke, Haaland, and Archer. Haas never captain in the early game. Yeah, obviously going Son is the early fixture, I believe. But look, it could go to Salah. I'm definitely not locked on Son. I'm interested in Salah potentially, depending on how Liverpool play tonight. Roman also says, wow, me and Jordan both on a wild card and going no Salah. I do want to discuss this. Obviously, I've got Mo Salah in my draft. You don't have Mo Salah in your draft. Just very quickly, what's the reasoning that we're going without Mo Salah? Just for those that don't know.
Okay, the reason being why I've not gone with Salah is it's the way my team obviously has structured, because we have spoken about how you have to make a sacrifice. You can't have Trippier, Son, Haaland, and Salah in your team. So you have to sacrifice one of those players, and that's why I've not got Salah in my team. I've got Trippier, Son, and Haaland.
Yeah.
So I've pretty much made a team around Son and obviously structured that around it to have these players like Trippier, even Bowen. I probably couldn't even have Bowen in my team if I had Salah because of his price. It's too expensive. So with Salah in your team, you sort of lose 2 players, I think, in terms of who you want, especially in that midfield. But going with Son, it gives you extra cash to buy and upgrade 2 players in the team, like a Bowen, a Watkins, or a Trippier. So, yeah, I did try and make a draft with Salah in it, but I didn't really like the team that was around him. So that's why I've gone with Son, because it just looks like a more appealing team structure for me.
Fair enough, man. Just to switch it back over to my team, obviously Jordan's gone with no Salah. I've gone with Mo Salah. And the reason why I've gone Mo Salah is because I look at his fixtures and I do want Mo Salah. Again, he's returning nearly every game bar one, and that was a game where he should have had a return. And the other reason is I'm actually willing to go without Trippier. I know it's mad. I do want Trippier in my team, don't get me wrong. But if I had to pick between Salah and Trippier, I'm still choosing Salah, I think. And that's the reason why Salah's in my draft. Because if I got rid of Salah, I could easily get Trippier in and then, bulk out my team. Even Neto, Neto's a cheap enabler I've had to bring in to justify having Salah in the draft just because the money is a bit more tighter. And as you can see, I've got no more money in the bank. So you are a bit more stretched with Salah. But yeah, I'm pretty confident on having Salah personally. I'm reading a few more comments out that I've missed. Harry says, evening all. Evening to you, Dan. Foden to Son and Wissa to Archer for a -4, Jordan. Is it worth it?
No, I don't think I'll take a -4 to take out. I don't think I would take out Wissa to Archer. I think I'll just do the Foden to Son move and do it for a free transfer.
I'm guessing he can't do it because he doesn't have the money unless he downgrades Wissa as well. Because Foden's obviously Son's more expensive than Foden.
In that case, then, yeah, if you want Son long term, and if you're considering captaining him as well, I think that will make up for the -4, and I think that'll be worth it then. Because if you hold on to Son long term and potentially captain him, obviously then I think he is worth a -4.
Yeah, I think Son is worth a -4, especially if you've not got any Spurs assets. It depends on your wildcard horizon as well. But yeah, I'd do the Son move, and maybe if you're captaining him as well. I think if you're captaining him, definitely do it. -4 is worth it. Who's a better captain, Son or Maddison? For me, it's Son personally for the goal threat.
Yeah,
as we mentioned, he's more likely to get a goal for me.
Yeah, he plays a bit more forward than Maddison does.
I'm trying to see what I missed. Sorry, yeah, I've answered that one. I think we'll do one more before we go because Liverpool do kick off in just under 2 minutes, and I don't want to miss that game. I'm risking Saka. Is that good? Obviously, because Saka did come off injured last night in the Champions League. For those that didn't watch, and Yogesh actually says Saka can get long-term injury anytime now. He's getting mishandled by Arteta. So yeah, with Saka, I wouldn't bank on it if I'm being honest. I would get rid of him for Maddison or Son if you can. If you can, I'll get a Spurs asset in for sure. Again, you want to wait till Friday press conference, see what Arteta says, but I probably would get rid of Saka if I'm being honest. I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, I do think Arteta is playing Saka way too much in games. He's playing him in every competition. With Man City at the weekend, big game for Arsenal, and if Saka's a doubt for that game, as well as it being a difficult fixture, then yeah, I think I would avoid Saka for the time being.
Yeah, fixture's not great either against City, and then yeah, if he is a doubt, then I wouldn't want to risk it. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. We're just going to an hour. I think we're going to watch some football tonight. Liverpool are playing Union. For those that are unaware, Europa League. Salah does start, so I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Salah. See how he does, with the view to maybe captain him in against the Brighton on the weekend. But again, we'll see. I want to say thank you to all of you for watching. If you haven't already, please smash that like button, guys. You don't realize how much it helps our channel out. All your likes, all your comments, it helps the channel grow massively, and it helps with the YouTube algorithm and our video. It pushes our video to be seen to newer viewers, which is what we're trying to do, grow the community. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, put your comments in after the video as well if you're watching on a playback. But yeah, we are going to wrap it up. Anything else you want to add, Jordan, before we head out?
Yeah, thanks you guys for watching. I'll keep it short and brief, but yeah, enjoy the football tonight if you're watching any games, and yeah, take care, and we'll see you on Deadline stream at the weekend.
Take care.